everyone, welcome back again. Right now, I'm with Dr. Running, and I'm going to ask him some questions. Dr. Running, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Mark Running. I am an associate professor in the biology department at U of L. I run a research program as well as teach some pretty large courses. The Biology 329 cell and molecular biology, mostly taken by sophomores. Developmental biology, more of an upper division course. And also sometimes I team teach the 240 introductory biology for majors, Unity of Life.
Gotcha. So, Dr. Running, I'm going to ask you a few questions. If you don't mind answering them, that'd be wonderful.
Great.
So, what is your favorite place to go out and eat at?
What is my favorite place to go out to eat? So, oh boy, there's quite a few. So I would say, like in general, my favorite foods are prime rib, and sushi. So, not every place has prime rib all the time, so it's sometimes wherever that's available. So, Texas Roadhouse, I know that's sort of a basic Louisville thing, but they have great prime rib for a great price, and then sushi, gosh, it's like I don't know if I have a favorite place. I just love going wherever I go. So yeah.
Fair enough. What was your biggest struggle while in school?
So my biggest struggle in college was the time it took to do really well in all my classes as a science major. And I went to a small liberal arts school, which was like 100% residential. And so that meant I lived with and interacted with people from other majors that did not have labs. You know, they had maybe a book assigned. And so they would like, it was also in Southern California. So they would be outside reading in the quad while I'd be like slaving away in the lab and, studying like crazy into the night. And so it's a more challenging major, but I think it was a lot more rewarding. In graduate school, the biggest struggle was the fact that there wasn't any sort of structure necessarily. You had to go into the lab and get research done, but by the nature of the work, you're doing stuff that no one's ever done before. So there's not really a roadmap. Um, you have to just discover new things in order to be successful. And it's a fantastic, but it also means it's not the same as getting an A as an undergrad. So those are the biggest struggles, I think.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about U of L?
So my favorite thing about U of L is the balance between teaching and research. So, excuse me, unlike many other schools, the teaching load is not sky high and the research expectations are not sky high. So the um, the research expectations are still you have to get grants and you have to publish and but you don't have to get gigantic grants all the time and you just have to be productive basically, and that's balanced with teaching. We generally, if you're research active, you have to teach depending on how it counts, like usually maybe one large class or two smaller classes, which is lower than other schools. So it's a combination of reasonable research and teaching expectations that I like the most.
Okay. What is one thing you learned the hard way? It could be in life, in general, or in school.
Uh, I think the hardest thing was that um, the the moving is a pain. So, when I got into this business, I knew that what people do is they take the best job offer, regardless of where it is, because, a university campus, it's always pretty nice. Um, and the surrounding community, any community with a large university is not going to be too bad to live in. But moving is a pain and you say goodbye to friends. I mean, with the internet and everything, it's not quite as bad. And, there are airports that you can use when there's not a pandemic, but it's not the same as like throwing down roots and living in the same place for all your life. It's just not that sort of career. So,
Gotcha. What do you think a student should do to be successful in research?
so The keys are really to be savvy. So you want to go to the a university for graduate school that you feel like you can thrive in. That usually means having enough opportunities to work with professors that are leaders in their field, because if you work in one of those, you will be exposed to cutting edge research. You'll be productive. They should be well funded so that you don't have to ever worry about supplies and resources to become successful, and you'll make connections that will be valuable just throughout your career. Like I'm still benefiting from the connections I made in graduate school and my postdoc. So um, like, of course, the other things are just like um, being savvy about what sorts of things you research, making sure not to like shoot for the moon all the time, but have sort of a combination of what would be called reach projects and projects that are guaranteed to or almost guaranteed to work and get publications. So
Yes, sir. What is one thing that you wish you knew before coming into your field?
I think the well, so I know, like, I hope I don't sound too negative about the field because it is a wonderful field. Once you become tenured, there's pretty much no other better job, I think. I mean, it's great. You get a lot of freedom. I really enjoy teaching and interacting with students. I like doing research on things that I get to decide. So I guess the one thing I would wish I knew was that success does come because it takes a while,
Hmm.
and it's not always inevitable, but it's something that if you work toward it, you can be rewarded. And just keeping that in mind all the time, I think is good.
Gotcha. What are some of your hobbies?
Ah, so as you know, I am big into video games, and I
Yeah.
have been since I was a very young kid. I had the very first Atari system, and then through Nintendos and all the way up. I'm also really into music. Fewer people know this about me, but I love pop music. I was a DJ in California for more than a decade. I There's an anatomy fashion show that Phi Delta Epsilon puts on, and I've picked out music for them to match body parts. Like if they did something for the lungs, if they had a model dressed up depicting the lungs, I would choose like Ariana Grande's "Breathe In" for that. For the cardiovascular system, I chose Sia's Elastic Heart. Just some examples. Digestive system. There's a lot of food songs. So yeah, I think those are my main two. I also love to travel, um, and yeah, I would say those are the big things.
Fair enough. Um, Being in research, do you have leisure time or is it busy?
It's pretty busy. I think one of the hardest things to do with things like email is to like make sure that when you're done for the day, you're really done for the day.
Hmm.
Um, and I think as your body sort of starts telling you that you can't work 16 hours a day anymore, and so um, I work probably more than 40 hours a week, but not much more usually, unless there's like a grant due or something. And I do take mostly weekends off, so it's not as bad as other professions. And um, I definitely have downtime to play video games. As you know, I do have both the Xbox Series X and PS5. So and then yeah, and there's other things too. Like a lot of the work I do doesn't require all my concentration, so I can listen to music and um, yeah. So I feel like I have enough time.
Okay. Um, this next one is good. Favorite dining place at U of L?
Uh, um, so does this count the surrounding area?
No, it has to be just U of L campus.
Okay, so I would say Einstein's Bagels, except their service is absolutely terrible. So, like, I love their bagels, but I can't wait a half hour for their bagels. And so, I'd say like McAllister's is probably my
Okay,
second choice. Yeah.
fair enough. And then last question, do you have any tips for students during this stressful time?
You mean like the pandemic?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I hope that we never have one again. But I think it's good to learn what works. I think like people have learned what works in what we'd call more normal settings, but it's not normal now. So what works? Like it does like shutting everything off and making sure that you're concentrating on on only your computer screen. Does that work? Does it work to like have structure in terms of like wake sleep, eating? Does it work to like make extra effort to socialize or to join clubs that maybe you wouldn't join otherwise because now their meetings online and so it's easy to just hop on. I'd say find what works and hopefully things will go back to normal, but then everybody has to find out what works when things are normal. So
Okay. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much, Dr. Running. It was a pleasure
sure.
talking to you.
All
Appreciate it.
right, thank you.